Hello, my fellow fasting foodie friend. Today we are going to talk about my hysterectomy and recovery and how that went. I had been asked multiple times to share kind of the recovery process, even how I did fasting with it. And I have been meaning to record this for a while. I do have my questions all here. But then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and make it a live because I have a feeling there might be more questions that come. I will answer hysterectomy questions as they come in today and or during the live, but I'll get through all the questions that were submitted ahead of time. And I just want to remind everyone, I'm not a medical professional at all, not even close. I am a fasting enthusiast. And then I had a hysterectomy and I'm just sharing my experience. So this is not medical advice. I never give medical advice, to be clear. I just give my experience and encourage people. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. Hope everyone is doing well that's watching. And I am going to get into it. So I probably am not going to go exactly in order because I think, like, especially one of the questions makes sense to answer. Getting my pen so I can mark off that I did them first. But before I answer the questions, I'm just going to give a little background on me, what I had done. So I had a hysterectomy at age 37. It was 3 days before my 38th birthday. I've had 3 children, and my entire, as long as I can remember, I've had very, very heavy menstrual cycles. And so that was like well documented in my history. And then my primary physician, I had shared that with her over the years. And I think this background will just kind of help as we get into it. If you're a man, you may not want to listen to this. I'm just going to be honest. But I have like very vivid memories of very heavy cycles, literally going back as far as like 7th grade, bleeding through pants all over seats, and it just wouldn't stop. And all the way up until before I had the hysterectomy, I would get medicine to delay my periods. I didn't have it while traveling. Just so many different things where, like, very embarrassing in the moment, and not embarrassing like it's hard to talk about because half the population probably has a menstrual cycle or has at one point in their life, but embarrassing like in the moment while it's happening. So then we're going to flash forward to, trying to think, this is 25 last year, 2023. I had started getting blood tests regularly after I started fasting, just doing an annual physical, more just in my 30s, started doing my annual physical, and the blood tests were great. While in 2023, still everything was great. 2024, I started to have some signs of anemia. And it was just like, I can't even think of like what, maybe red blood cell count. I can't remember like the exact names, just showed signs of it. They had just dipped kind of significantly. My provider did actually write me orders to get more blood tests done later in the year to see if it was like something that was due to my period. Like, couldn't remember if I got it done during my cycle, and my cycle was like not predictable. I couldn't look at a calendar. It would last for 2 weeks. And sometimes I'd have a week in between. Sometimes I'd have 2 weeks in between. It just wasn't something I could go back on a calendar and be like, oh yeah, I got the original blood test done during my period. Well, she was very like upfront. I want you to get it done not during your period to make sure it wasn't like all the blood I was losing causing the anemia. I never did it because every time I thought of it was during my period. Like, I'd start my period and be like, dang, I didn't get the blood test done. So I just waited to my next annual physical, and that was early 2025. And I had my blood test done again, and every like marker for anemia was like bad blood results. So whatever they are, I can't even remember. And I probably should have referenced my blood test results. And then we did another one to verify again, and the numbers again were every single one of them showed anemia, nothing else. So that's what led me to this. I have long had a documented history of very heavy periods. She knew that, very hard to predict. I couldn't at all know when they were going to happen. So that's where we start. Anemia shows up early 2025. So now I'm going to answer questions. I just felt like that was important. It led me to a hysterectomy, but one of these questions kind of gives more background. So it is from Tasha O'Haines, I'm guessing. It says, what remedies, if any, did you try before deciding to have a hysterectomy? Did you suffer from fibroids prior? Did the surgery provide relief? Are you satisfied with the results so far? Did you have a C-section or natural delivery for your babies? Do you feel diet contributes to needing a hysterectomy? Okay, so I'm going to hit the easy ones first, and I apologize. I am going to be looking at this as I answer them. Let's see. I've never had fibroids. No. I had natural delivery for all three of my babies. I did ask my provider, I call her Sandy, so her name's Sandy, if she felt like eating one meal a day at all contributed to needing the hysterectomy. And she said not at all. That it's very common for women who have heavy menstrual cycles for them to continue to get heavier. And it's almost like you think of scope creep when you're doing a project and you just start to do more and more. It can be the same thing with your cycle, she explained to me, where I'm used to a heavy cycle. So even if it gets more heavy, I may not notice it because I'm already used to it being, conflicting with everyday activities. I'm already used to it being a problem and something I have to work around. But I just remember towards the end, I would have such a heavy flow that I would stand up and I'd have blood go all the way down into my shoe. I just knew if I stood up somewhere, it didn't matter. I was a mess 2 days a month, so much blood. And I've previously talked to her about this stuff, but it wasn't ever a problem on my blood tests until last year, this year, definitely. So she had no doubts that it was my cycle. So from there though, we did a vaginal ultrasound, and I knew this prior because I did all of my prenatal care with a different hospital, different providers. And then I started seeing Sandy after I was done with all the babies. So she didn't know this, and I honestly never really thought of it interfering with my cycle, but I have I'm trying to think of what it's called. I can't think of it. Something basically it's a heart-shaped uterus is what I always call it. That's the very non-medical term, but it's two pieces instead of a normal shaped uterus. It's by something, I don't know. But it's heart-shaped. So that can really contribute to issues. I did have issues in my pregnancy. That's how I knew about it. But it would be my kids had a hard time being head down because of the shape of the uterus. That was always a slight issue in my pregnancy that chiropractor care helped me with, FYI. If you have any issues and you're seeing this, well, you're probably not having a hysterectomy if you're also needing prenatal care, but the Webster technique in chiropractic care was very effective for me. But the heart-shaped uterus eliminates you doing, geez Louise, my brain is off right now. It eliminates you doing basically where they scrape the inside of your uterus and remove the uterine lining. And it can, that can help reduce how much you bleed, and can help, then obviously if I'm not losing as much blood, I'm not having I'm not going to have the anemia that results from losing as much blood. An ablation, that's what it's called. But you cannot do it if you have the heart-shaped uterus. So that was something I could not try before the hysterectomy. Number 2, you can try birth control. Without going into great detail, I will say that I tried that early on when I was, I don't know, I got married at 20 then, and I hated hormonal birth control so much. So I pretty much, I don't want to say I refused. I did not want to take it when I was younger, and let's just say I had my first baby at 22. So I did stop taking it, but I hated the way it made me feel. I just really didn't like it, and I thought if I feel this way, probably not great. Like, I just really actually hated the thought of messing with my hormones that much and how it made me feel. So I stopped taking it. And that is also one of the remedies, is a hormonal birth control. And because again, I had that documented that it did not work well, did not enjoy it, that thankfully my doctor didn't want me to try that again, or didn't push me to it. It was an option I could have considered. So the odd-shaped uterus eliminated ablation, which is something that can be done. And then I've done hormonal birth control in the past, not for, oh my gosh, I can't even think of what it's called. Anemia. Hello. Not for anemia, but I've done it to not have babies, and I hated it. So we didn't go down that road again. And then we did multiple blood tests to make sure it wasn't just like a time and place and the numbers were getting worse. Then we did, I took like an iron supplement, and that helped the numbers like improve. But over the course of like a few months in the testing, it was just pretty much like the best option would probably be to do the hysterectomy. I knew I was done having babies, and I kept my ovaries. So that is one thing that I thought was nice, that I could keep my ovaries, still get the hormones from those monthly. And so that's basically like what led up to the poor blood results and having the hysterectomy. Let me see here. Did the surgery provide relief? Yes. So I'm not having my period, and it's been 5 months now. It's still very, very weird to me that I do not have a period. I feel PMSy. I feel like my period's about to come, and it is, I started my cycle when I was 12, and I'm 38 now. That's a long time to be like waiting for something in a very stressful state, and then for it to just be gone. I honestly feel like I'm cheating somehow, because I feel very good right now, and I'm not having a period, and I'm like, it just feels like it's not a forever thing. Like, oh, it's going to come back. So I have not adjusted to not having a period in the sense that it's my new norm. It very much feels like I'll get like the PMSy feelings, like my hormone shifting, feeling very hungry. And I'm like, oh, my period's about to come. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It's not. That's very weird still. Excuse me. But as far as recovery goes, yes, I'm feeling better. And the relief as far as my blood tests, they are not the same, because I tested in July. I was like 6 weeks post-op was the last time I tested, and then I won't test again until my annual physical. The numbers like went, and I stopped taking, as soon as we scheduled the surgery, I stopped taking the iron supplement, because I did not like basically the way it messed with my poop. It basically gave me diarrhea. So I stopped taking that the moment we scheduled the surgery, because I really wanted to make sure that by the time I had my surgery and then got my blood tests, I knew for sure it wasn't an iron supplement that was causing any changes to what the results would be. No longer anemic. They weren't as good as they were before, but it's like the doctor said, like, you are still recovering from a surgery. Like, your numbers are improving still. But she was very pleased. So I am very pleased. But thank you for all those questions. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the next question was from Colleen Kelly 9640. Were you able to continue with OMAD? I had mine on 9/8, feeling good. I do 18/6 currently. Well, one, I'm glad you're feeling good. I hope that has continued in the last month, or almost 2 months now. Yes, I actually, excuse me, I did continue with OMAD. The crazy thing is, it was only because it made me feel better. So I really, really hated how gassy the internal of my body was. I've never had a laparoscopic surgery. That's another question someone asked. I did have laparoscopic surgery. Never in my life have I had anything like that. And the amount of air in me was the most uncomfortable part. I could not stand it. So anything that I did that added like into my abdomen made me so much more uncomfortable, to the fact that eating only once a day was a blessing, where it was so uncomfortable to move, to eat, that I was like, yep, definitely doing this. And I never felt like, I said this when I shared my plan for surgery. If I felt like I needed to eat more, and I definitely still ate like a substantial amount, I 100% would have done what I felt like I needed to do to recover. Like, that was what was important to me, not a perfect fasting schedule. But I was so uncomfortable without eating, and then eating made me even more uncomfortable, because I just felt like there was so much gas pushing on all my organs, and anytime I moved, for weeks, it was so uncomfortable. That was the worst part. I didn't even expect it, and I was shocked. That was, I don't even know. That was the worst part to me, was how much air it felt like was in me from the surgery. And anything I did, like eating, just made it even more uncomfortable. So that had the natural consequence of sticking with OMAD, and it felt good. Like, I didn't feel at all deprived. And it wasn't like a choice for fasting. It was more like, I do this anyways. This feels normal, and it hurts to put more in my body. So yep, I did continue with OMAD. Let's see. Sonia Samuel 216 says, post surgery, how long did it take you to get back to the IF routine? I immediately, pretty much, because I just kept going with it. In my case, post any medical issues, I usually get back to my old eating habits, thinking I shouldn't be eating less as I'm recovering, and I eat more as people around me also suggest to eat and stay healthy and diet later. Yeah, I do agree with that. There was no like diet goals or anything. I was not like trying to hit some objective or hours. It was just, since it is my normal and it still felt good, it was easy for me to do that. I definitely ate a lot. So I was, sorry, cat hair is now flying at my coffee, thanks to her. I didn't have any cravings. It wasn't actually that enjoyable to eat, to be honest. There was nothing, like, my birthday was, I had the surgery on June 13th. My birthday was June 16th, and my husband made me dirt cake, which was really nice of him. I like having dirt cake for my birthday. But I remember just eating it like, this isn't even enjoyable, because it was making me uncomfortable. Like, yeah, it tasted good. And so that's just kind of how I felt, kind of eating for quite a while. Like I said, the air in me was so uncomfortable. That was by far the worst part. I would, like, if I was sitting up and I was tired and I wanted to lay down, I'd like have to convince myself to lay down, like to go through the effort of the move. And the same if I'm laying down, like sit up, I'd have to convince myself. Ugh, that was the worst. Let's see here. How did you avoid cravings, or did you have any cravings to eat more? No, not at all. I have no advice for that, because I did not have any. I was very repelled. Did I already answer that question? Jevi 1367 said, what led up to the hysterectomy? How are you feeling now? Any advice for someone who may be getting it soon? I'm feeling very good. I am definitely grateful that I've had it done. I know it hasn't been long, so I am hoping with my ovaries still here, I won't see major hormone impact, as I am getting close to the perimenopause age anyways. I hope it doesn't change any of that and make it earlier or harder, but I don't know. So 5 months in, I am very, very grateful. Since my surgery, we've gone to Milwaukee, New York City, and Orlando. And I can't tell you how weird it was that I did not have to like freak out mentally. Will I have my period? Will I be in Disney World on the heaviest day? How will I do that? And that relief is my favorite part. I mean, yes, I have the medical benefits of not having anemia, but the mental was so much stress. And now that it's not here, I still have a hard time believing it's not there. Of thinking of like how to handle a heavy flow when I'm on a plane or in a car for a 5-hour drive. It's actually crazy, but I do feel really good. My advice for someone getting one soon, I definitely, even though I stuck with the OMAD, I would 100% be open to listening to what your body needs. If you feel hungrier or you need to spread it out or you want to, like simply want to, do what sounds good to you. Like honor what sounds good to your body, listen to your doctor. I definitely like talked everything through with my physician that was doing the surgery. I always do that with any medication. So if you have anything that you have to take post-op, make sure that it's okay to fast if you fast. If you need to eat, make sure you're eating. But I wouldn't do anything to keep up with fasting in the short term. I would do what feels good and that you need to do. Also, just be prepared if you have gas in your body. I can't even explain how much it shocked me, how uncomfortable it was. And maybe that is a known thing, but it was not known to me. And I think just maybe anticipating it would have made it easier, if that makes sense. I think of like when I had my children, I was surprised at how crampy my uterus was after my first baby, but then it wasn't as hard the second and the third because I expected it. So just going in knowing that you might have an abdomen full of gas, and I'm not talking like you have to fart gas, I'm talking like you just feel it move all over. Maybe anticipating it would make it easier. That was my advice, just to know that. And then I also was very tired for a very, very long time. So even if I felt physically better, if I did more than like laying low, I would really get tired. That surprised me. So just don't push yourself. And they tell you that over and over again. Like, don't, you really need to give yourself time to recover. I definitely really, really did. So that is, I don't really feel like I follow directions. I'm a direction follower. So they tell me to do something, I do it. And now I might ask questions or get clarifying. It's not like I hear them and blindly do whatever. So as far as like medication, I'll say, do I really need to have that food? Can I blah, blah, blah. But in the end, I do follow, like I respect them. So whatever medical advice I do follow, I think that helped me. Let's see. Esmon 9698 says, hello, I'm happy you've recovered. Did you stay OMAD? I have answered this question, but I appreciate you asking it. But yes, I did stay OMAD. Debbie Jaffrey 4709 says, what type of surgery did you have? The old-fashioned incision or laparoscopic? The latter has a much quicker recovery. So I did have laparoscopic. I went to sleep and I woke up and I was in a different room. It was quite easy. I have 4 incisions on my stomach. And then they also, this is gross, I have a weird scar in the middle of my belly button. And I asked her at one of my recovery appointments, I was like, what is this? I thought there was only 4 incisions. And she said, oh, that's where we thread your belly button to pull it tight. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I also have like a scar from that. It wasn't necessarily an incision, but it like kind of was, I guess. I guess it probably was. It wasn't a cut. It was, they threaded my belly button. But yes, not that anyone wants to know this, bled for 12 weeks. So that was my recovery, and that is on the longer side. But everything was healing well. I just kept getting like minor bleeding for a very, very long time. But I am officially recovered now, and I am doing very well, or I feel like I'm doing very well. But while I was bleeding, I couldn't resume like typical activities, and that was longer than I expected, the full 12 weeks. HTB 800 says, wishing you well. Thank you very much for the comment. That was nice of you. Mary Kowalski says, have you had tests for your anemia after the surgery? And if so, how is it doing? Yes. So I did have the blood test. They ran the same, whatever the panel is. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but so if you look at my prior years, it was like whatever good levels, dip. Well, it kind of went down last year, and then a big dip, and then it's not quite as high, but getting there. I do look forward to having my blood test in the beginning of 2026, just for my annual physical and comparing them. And I will share that, like 1 year later type thing. Jewel Cosino 1322 says, yes, I was wondering about your anemia. Can you talk about being diagnosed with ADHD and taking meds for that? Has anything changed concerning it? So with ADHD, I do, oh no, I'm missing one of my pages. Nuts. Sorry, I'm going to talk and get this pulled up, but I do take a medication for ADHD on my work days. It helps me to focus, and I don't think it has anything to do with AD or anemia at all. So I don't know if that is what you were talking about, but if we're talking strictly the ADHD medication, it is very helpful. So this is actually, I want to make an entire video on this, but I do have, I was diagnosed at 37 with ADHD, and it got brought up because my daughter, I thought she had potentially had ADHD, and that was a long thing, like a totally different story. And she has said that she is fine with me sharing this. But basically, if you consider anxiety, depression, a lot of times it comes from not knowing you also have ADHD, because if you don't treat it, then you feel bad about yourself. And the more I was researching things concerning her, I was realizing, oh my gosh, I think this could be something undiagnosed ADHD with her, because she's not hyperactive. But as I'm seeing all these things and I'm noticing them about her, I am seeing myself in a lot of it. And then also like TikTok videos of people sharing things like how they're super triggered with people chewing and eating loud. Or I'm trying to think of, like, there's some that I'm like, I thought I was the only weirdo in the world, but I constantly lose things. Or people think I am a very organized person, but I'm very messy. I am like, it's chaos in here. So long story short, trying to help her, I realized that a lot of the things that I was finding out and doing for my own life were dealing with ADHD. And so her and I both went to an actual psychologist, went through the process, and yes, we were diagnosed. It came up and was a huge issue in my life when I became self-employed. And when I say huge issue, like not giant, but I have always had teachers and deadlines and work deadlines, and I would procrastinate and I'd get stuff done, but I'd do it very last minute. But that was very motivating to me. Guess what? When you're your own boss and there are no deadlines except for self-imposed, I don't have that same thing to meet up. So it just, I saw it a lot more in my personal life when I'm like self-employed and I don't have people to do, like things can just get pushed off forever. It has very, very much helped with that. I don't think it at all contributes to the anemia. My physician agreed. And also, like, I started seeing the decline in all of the anemia numbers before I was ever even diagnosed with ADHD. But I thought I had more questions, and that was actually the last one. But it could be a good lead-in that I do think I'm doing a video on ADHD and overeating and how I see it all tie together to my fasting journey. Again, from a non-medical perspective, just from my personal point of view. But bottom line, I am feeling actually really, really good. And I'm so grateful to have had the hysterectomy. My doctor was wonderful. She spent a lot of time going through different options and what would or wouldn't work. The ablation, again, wasn't an option for me because of the odd shape of my uterus. I have been running an experiment. This might be weird. I don't want to weird anyone out, but I'm going to show you my incisions on my stomach. And I've been putting Mederma on 3 of the 4 incisions. I'm just curious if it makes a difference. So, okay, I see there's a question come in. I can answer in a second. It has nothing to do with hysterectomy, but I can tell you my thoughts potentially. Okay, but I'm going to show you my incisions because I think people might want to see them. But I've been doing a test as far as, let's see here. I'm trying to see. So this one, all the way across, it kind of goes up. Wait, I have one more. Oh, right here. Kel said I have a second belly button, but these ones I've been putting Mederma on, and this one I'm not. And I think that the Mederma is making a huge difference. It's just like blotchier here, and this is a random different scar that just looks like it belongs. But then you can see I kind of have a scar in the middle of my belly button. I have all this loose skin, so they pulled it. But these are my 4 incisions. This one, that one from the hysterectomy. Honestly, I would have been really happy had they done it a little more symmetrical. It looks chaotic on my stomach, but the Mederma has not gone on one scar. It's me. I just like to test and do things like that because I'm curious. People don't really see my stomach unless I, broadcast it on a live on the internet. Doesn't really matter, but I was curious and I do think it makes a difference. So I'll probably make that into a short someday, but my daughter, we put Mederma on. Her left leg just has scars top to bottom, and we put Mederma on them. And I've always wondered, does it make a difference? I do think it makes a difference. So thanks, Mederma. So that is, if there's no more hysterectomy questions, that's that. But I am really grateful for it. My numbers have improved. I am physically feeling like myself. Mentally, I still can't believe I don't have a period, and it feels too good to be true, if that makes sense. And like a cheat code. So I've been happy, I guess, is the result. I was tired much longer than I thought I would be. Even if I physically felt great, if I did too much, and by doing too much, I mean taking too long of a walk, I would just be completely wiped out. So I definitely think it makes sense to follow the directions the doctors give you. Even if you're feeling good, don't push it, because I never push myself too physically, carrying something I shouldn't. But I feel like if I loved walking and it was the summer and I was missing out and going on my super long walks, when I would try to do half of a decent walk, I would just get so tired. So that surprised me. And then the gas in my abdomen probably would have been easier to deal with if I knew it was coming, but it was painful, and it lasted for me for weeks. And then it eventually slowly went away, but it was awful. Oh yeah, so potato, it took, it was a full 2 weeks. And it wasn't the first day the same level of pain it was on 2 weeks, but it was gradually, it got a little better, but it was still quite uncomfortable for a few weeks, to the point where I ended up sleeping on the couch for weeks, because I could then prop myself up and I could put drape my leg over the the top of the couch, and it just kind of propped me weird, where I wasn't just laying down and feeling the air. But I hated going to bed, and I hated getting up, even when I was taking naps all the time, because of how uncomfortable. But a good few weeks and it finally went away. But this has nothing to do with hysterectomy. But I see from Himabinduxa, I'm so sorry. I wish I could. I don't know where the break in that is, if that's a first and last name, but suffering from clinical depression and anxiety the last 5 years, and I'm on meds. Will OMAD help me? I'm really, really sorry, because I would love to give you something to be helpful. I like helping people and encouraging people. I have no clue, because I have never dealt with depression. I do have diagnosed severe anxiety, which I found out through ADHD, the psychologist. Um, I do think I have benefits for my anxiety from fasting. That is not a professional opinion, though. Personally, I have seen benefits because a lot of mental stress has been lifted from dieting. It's easier to me. I'm either eating or I'm not. And I find a lot of like freedom and enjoying food. And I think that that just removes a lot of like different negative thoughts and self talk. But it's something I really, really enjoy. And I think it's been a benefit to me mentally in lots of ways. Also, and this is another like future video I want to make. I've had a lot of fringe benefits from fasting. So fasting took me out of like a diet cycle and gave me so much peace and joy with eating that I then felt like I had more space in my life to do other things. And it is, in my mind, it's like a snowball effect. So getting out of diet constant cycle and beating myself up when I didn't do it, and then gaining weight and losing weight, gaining weight and losing weight. When I removed that, and I felt better because of fasting, and yes, I lost the weight, but I also was mentally just feeling better. Then I felt like I had the space to start therapy. Then I started walking all the time because I liked doing it. It wasn't a weight loss move. There were so many things that I just wanted the next step for myself because I was taking better care of myself. And I feel like all of that has made it easier. Um, but it's like the fringe or the tertiary effect of fasting. It's not from fasting itself, but fasting gave me the space to seek more and better for myself. And that's another video I'm planning like at the beginning of the year. It's really, it feels like a very tangled web of thoughts. So it's hard to explain it, but I mean, I think of everything from like getting my hair done regularly now. I never felt like it was worth it or um, worth the time or the money, but now I do. And I think it's just because I value like taking care of myself more now. And it's like, and I don't even mean it from like a point of vanity. This is where it feels very hard to explain. It's just like I see myself more as someone worth taking care of than I did in the past, or taking the time and the money to go to therapy. Same thing. It was hard for me to like, oh, the copay and you have to go frequently. It's just not a one-time thing. It was hard to make the time and the money commitment. But fasting has opened up not only like not dieting, it's given me more joy and peace, but I want to keep seeking like better for me, which is then better for my family. And I've had so many like outside of weight loss type things from fasting or like next level benefits that I personally believe it could, but I don't know your journey. I don't know, what meds you're on. I don't want to say anything that is contrary to what would actually be beneficial to you. I know it has been a huge, huge blessing in my life, and I hope that you find what can provide you the same thing. But I would definitely talk to a doctor, especially with meds. And I do wish you the best, but it has been a huge blessing to me in my life in so many ways, so that I have a hard time imagining it not being the same for others. But that's coming from a very personal point of view and no medical training at all. But I am sending you love, and I am sorry that you are dealing with that. We have it in our family. I don't have depression. I do have the anxiety, and I know it's not fun. So I'm sending you love, and I hope you take care of yourself. And I meant that in an encouraging way, not like a telling you what to do way. That probably didn't sound the best, so I apologize. Cheryl says, what app or system are you using to track your fasting time on your watch? I know my watch is on right now. They're charging, but I use the Zero app on my Apple Watch, and I love it. I will probably never stop because, again, going back to ADHD, I don't have to keep track of it. I will kind of, what did I do? and I could probably take time and figure it out. I just love it's there. It's easy. My watch is almost 4 years old and barely keeps a charge at this point. I will probably probably be upgrading it soon so that I can have it on all day. But my favorite part about it is my fasting app. I don't pay for zero. I love it. I've thought about working with someone to make a fasting app, but they're so expensive and I would hate to charge people. Like, that's the thing, is there's a reason apps are expensive when they have great features. It's because it costs a lot of money to support them. But zero on my Apple Watch is what I use. I had an ablation 6 months ago and that hasn't helped. Now have adenomyosis, so we'll be asking for a hysterectomy. Sick of the bleeding. This honestly, I swear, almost brought tears to my eyes, because having a doctor in your corner, oh my gosh, I honestly am about to cry, so I'm sorry. That makes me very sad for you, because that is extremely frustrating. And my doctor, I am so, so grateful. Having doctors in your life that are in your corner, you really cannot. And I know they have like procedures and they have to do that kind of stuff. And I know an ablation was in consideration. Maybe this sounds weird, but thankfully for me, I couldn't consider it because of my uterus shape. But to have to wait 6 months and go through a procedure, and then you have to, that's just very frustrating. And I was really grateful that my doctor was like, a lot of women have these and end up still having a hysterectomy. I know people in my own life that have had the same thing happen. And I'm actually just really grateful I didn't have to go through with that. I wish you the best of luck. Yes. And this is probably the other part that really like shot tears to my eyes. If you understand bleeding ruling your life, you understand. I cannot, for the life of me, if you look up how much an average woman bleeds on their cycle or how long their cycles are, I literally cannot believe it as a fact. The amount that I would bleed is like, it was so much more than the average for an entire cycle. I would feel like in a day, because I'd get giant clots that just, I've taken pictures of them to show my doctor before because it's concerning. And I would be like, that is more than what they say the average woman bleeds in a cycle. It completely controlled that time of my life. And it controlled other parts because you're worried about the future or when it will hit, especially if yours was, you understand, I understand, and I'm sorry that you had to go through an extra step. And I was very grateful that it wasn't even a question I could consider. She did say we could try it, but it really does not work with my shape, and it's something that she wouldn't recommend. And I was so grateful for her, like being in my corner for that. And I hope you have the next, excuse me, I hope you get what you need next. What did your doctor say your recovery time would be after a procedure? My doctor told me 4 weeks for mine coming up next month, except mine is just my ovary and my tubes. They did say 6 weeks is generally a full recovery. So when I went to my 6-week appointment, again, if there's a man on here, you probably don't want to know this stuff, but we all know what an annual exam is like. It was a very similar thing, but she's feeling inside for stitches. And at 6 weeks, every single one of my stitches was still there, which surprised her, but they were doing well. So it wasn't a matter of not healing, but when your stitches fall out, you bleed. So my stitches took so long to fall out that the next 6 weeks, it was just minor bleeding. And I'm not talking like there was no confusion. Obviously, I had no uterus. I didn't think I was on my period. But I would just like, every time I went to the bathroom, there's like blood as I wipe. I'm sorry if there's a man here, you don't want to know that stuff. But it was true. And I would spot on my underwear for the next 6 weeks. And I think what finally got it to stop is when we went to Disney and we were walking 30,000 steps a day. That level of activity kind of pushed it to the edge. And I think all my stitches probably came out eventually. I don't know. I didn't ever see any, but it was like the week after that my bleeding stopped. But I was concerned. I'm like, this is still going, but it was so minor. but enough that you knew it was still happening. And they said, basically I'd have to come in if it didn't stop within that week, which was 12 weeks. But I did also do a lot of reading that 12 weeks can happen. So they said 4 to 6 weeks, or they said 6 weeks is like don't plan on doing any activities, all the stuff for 6 weeks. And at 6 weeks, I was healed well, but all my stitches were in. I still haven't gone back since then. That's how confident she was that it went well, but it took me quite a while. As far as like, the gas went away within like 2 weeks, and then energy level was probably, I'd say, back around 8 weeks. Definitely significant improvement after like 3 weeks, but I still would get tired kind of easy for about a month after that, I'm guessing. Thank you, Cheryl, for being here and asking. Let's see, I eat twice a day around 1 and 5 p.m., but I'm unable to stop the tea addiction with milk and sugar as soon as I get up. If I could just postpone my tea for 4 hours, I can hit fasting right now. Well, I do think that would make a huge, milk and sugar in your tea is probably, you're not getting your fast then. And I also would believe it's making your fast much, much harder, or the fasting that you're doing, you're not eating. That sugar for me on an empty stomach, especially now that I don't do that ever, I can feel such a difference in my body. The longer I do this, the more I can see how things affect me, which is cool. Like, you're learning about yourself. That sounds like an instant headache to me, and I would be ravenous. I would be so hungry if I opened my eating window, or just you have a drink with sugar and then I didn't eat. That would be very, very hard for me. However, I understand that it's very hard for people. One of the biggest blessings for me before I started fasting is that I loved black coffee already. So I got to keep a comfort item to me. I also love sugary, creamy, hot coffees and lattes. And I made, I would brew black coffee at home, but it would be flavored like Michigan cherry or creme brulee or pumpkin spice. I did those all the time. So I had to do a little bit of a shift, but I already liked it, thankfully. And I can see that would be hard. I definitely think if you could, one, remind yourself, it doesn't have to be a race. It's not like today you had it right when you wake up and tomorrow it has to be at 1 p.m. No, like, wait a half an hour. And once that becomes easy, wait an hour after you wake up, and try to test yourself, with having it without. And some people, if they like it so much, they just choose to not have tea in their eating window because they like to, in their fasting window. So maybe just have water when you wake up, and then save and look forward to that cup of tea when you open your eating window with whatever. It could be something that you really, really look forward to. I've been making an iced coffee frequently lately, and I love having it in my eating window. It's something that I look forward to. I make it with a lactose-free milk that has 28 grams of protein and sugar-free sweeteners in it, and I just really, really enjoy making it. But I have it to look forward to later. That could be something that you are dangling, that you're like the horse with the carrot dangled in front of it. It's something that you're excited to get to that eating window. So you're going to fast, and don't try to convince yourself to drink tea in a way you don't like it. Just have water instead, or have, if you can have black coffee, I don't know, get yourself there and then enjoy it the way you want to. But it doesn't have to be today you wake up and have it, and then tomorrow it has to be different. No, you can do the stair step. You can gradually increase. There's no race. I have no experience with this. That's the hardest part, is I had the benefit. So the request is to make a video on how to beat coffee and tea addiction with sugar. Yes, I liked it, but and this goes back to when I was a poor college student. I'm telling you, no money. I was so grateful that I worked at places that had free coffee. So I wouldn't eat breakfast, or I wouldn't bring in creamer. I would just drink coffee because it was there. It was like my pre-fasting fast. I wasn't a faster, but coffee was free and I could have it all the time. And I hate being cold. So I had like my hot cup of coffee with me all the time from work. And then I liked that already. It made it so much easier for me. I understand that, but I've never had to like convince myself to not have cream and sugar in my coffee. So I don't think I can make a good video. One thing I could do though, and I've done this with something else. maybe, and I like this idea, I think it could be helpful, put a post on the community tab of people leaving their tips or even ask for video clips from people, and then I could compile it, and people that don't have like an audience or a platform could share tips and I could use my platform to help. I think that might be a good idea. I love that. I get that question. Tips on plain coffee tea. And then I could take videos and text and just read them. So thank you. I will try to put that in the works and see if I get some contributions, because I know there are so many people who have done that. Halfray, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering that. However, I'm supposed to say it. My doctors continue to blame high estrogen. Is that supposed to be estrogen? Due to fat tissue. So angry that so many women live like this, trying to lose weight so they can't blame that. Oh, well, I am really sorry. That is another experience I've never had. I've been overweight, but I've never had a doctor treat me that way. My closest, and this is from an overweight doctor, and I only say that because, like, not to make fun of them at all. I would never do that. But for him to treat me that way made me very angry. When I was having a procedure, I was getting my tonsils out, and I was asking about medication and how I could do it with fasting. And he, like, sorry, men, also, you're probably gone at this point, but he gave me like, oh, like, it just seemed like ridiculous woman attitude is the vibe I got. But he was like, okay, well, when you give that up, then you can, like, it was just such a snide comment as far as like, oh, well, when that short-term thing ends, then we can talk, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, already at that point, I'd been fasting for a couple of years. And he's like, oh. And it just made me really angry. But it wasn't like a long-term thing. I mean, he did take my tonsils out and he did a great job with that. But I was just more trying to talk about the pain management afterwards, which that was way more painful than a hysterectomy, by the way. But he just treated me like, oh, silly. This is how I took it. Silly woman trying something new. How cute. Except for it wasn't like cute. It was like, how ridiculous, really. And I remember thinking, I'm so grateful for the doctors that I have in my life that are supportive, because it would be really hard to try to do things and to have them treat you like you're ridiculous. So I'm sorry. I hope you get the help that you need, or, and I say this without knowing your doctor, but a better doctor. How about both? Potato 6658. I love potato username. I'm so glad it finally resolved for you. Thank you, Jackie. It's nice to ask someone who's been through it. Thank you very much. I am very grateful, and I like learning from other people. I do a lot of research and connecting with others online as far as their experiences, and that's why I share. So I'm glad. I hope it's helpful. I know it's such a weird, icky, like, thing for some people to talk about, but I don't honestly get that because so many people deal with it. Like, I try very hard. My girls are 14 and 15 to just talk about periods like their periods in front of them, in front of my son, because I don't want them, and I don't feel like it was ever like a weird thing in my family either, but I felt weird about it, not because of anyone else. Anyways, maybe we just didn't talk about it. So now if I talk about it, it won't be as weird. And this is like totally random, but I think of this sometimes, and my son is 9 now. This was when he was much younger. I don't think he'd do this now, but I had to like go to Target or a bathroom out in public. And he's like, are you going to poop, pee, or bleed? And he said it just like it was a normal bodily function. I loved it so much. I still laugh about it to this day, but it was just like, he was asking me a question and it was nothing weird. He would feel weird now, I'm sure of that. And he would probably hate that I told you that. But I love, like, I don't try to like, oh, you can't know what a period is because you're a boy. Like, I'm not shoving it in his face, but also, like, someday he's probably going to have a spouse and don't want him to think it's the weirdest thing in the world, you know? Anyways, that was a tangent, but I'm happy to share is the bottom line. Thank you for being here. And crabby creature Christina, love that. My own rule for intermittent fasting is a combination of OMAD and fruit snacks only during daylight hours. Oh, that's funny. That is very niche. Added some longer fasts occasionally, lost 3 stone. Okay, I'm very ignorant. I've been told before what a stone is. I need to look it up. How many pounds is a stone? I know it's a significant amount of money, pounds. How many pounds is a stone? 14 pounds. I honestly, I know I'm saying this like late, but that's what my guess was. That's amazing. So you've lost 42 pounds. I'm putting it in American terms for myself here. Also, my daughter has befriended the English foreign exchange student. I wonder if he weighs himself in pounds. How have I not asked? I love asking him questions like, do you do that in England? Are you from England, Crabby Christina? But good for you. I love how niche that is, because you're obviously prioritizing something yourself, eating 1 meal a day and having fruit snacks. I mean, I hope the fruit snacks aren't your only 1 meal a day, but that is so, like, I just think it's literally the perfect illustration of you can make fasting work for you. Fruit snacks would not be in my 1 meal a day, although I do love gummy bears. Like, gummy bears are a frequent part of my OMAD. But you're like making it work for you. You're making space for the things that are important and that you like. I'm guessing fruit snacks. I don't think you're doing those because you don't like them. And you're doing OMAD, and you're building a routine that fits you. That literally is what I think people need to experience to understand. Fasting sounds rigid. Fasting sounds restrictive. But when you can literally make room for whatever's important to you, like last night, me and the kids, we went to, it's called Art Hop, downtown Kalamazoo. Different artists are in different locations. And one of my good friends, she was a bridesmaid, was displaying art in a popcorn store downtown. And we went, and I was open to, if there were samples, I would maybe try different popcorn. They didn't have any samples out, and the popcorn didn't sound good. Like, they had wonderful flavors, but we bought some for later. But I didn't feel like I missed out, but I could have had it if I wanted to. And then we got these giant slices of pizza, a place called Benny DeCarta's downtown. And I had so much fun that I could participate, and I moved my eating window to accommodate that. Like, so I had a slice of pizza. Look how giant that is. But I was with my son, my daughter, and Mila's friend. And it was just like, that might not be important to people, but it was important to me to have my eating window late in the day yesterday, and I can move that. And then today it's going to be earlier. I mean, it's going to be dinner time, but not as late as yesterday. It is just so fun and freeing that I can move to whatever, because all day, every day is not important to me to participate, but daily I can move and make room. And if for you, that means fruit snacks, yay. Potato 6658. Oh my goodness, your little guy is so cute. He sure is. Again, don't tell him I told that story though. Did you take any pain meds after? Do you think Tylenol would be sufficient? Sorry if you've already mentioned this. I did not mention pain meds because I do think it's very like not personal, like I don't want to share it, but I 100% don't want to come across as giving medical advice. So please hear that. I had a nerve block, and I'm just going to tell a little story. I was not scared for my hysterectomy, but I was very, very nervous to get the injection of the pain before my surgery. And this is going back to providers. Like, literally, this is going to make me cry. I have not ever had an epidural because I was afraid of them. I didn't want them. I did not want the needle. I can get my blood drawn. I can get shots. I don't care. But the thought of a pain block scared me. And I asked the doctor, I said, can you please do it after I'm out from anesthesia? And they did it. And I just sometimes think people, one, that takes a doctor that cares about your needs. And like, he did say they can't do it for everyone, because if you're like, I mean, there's just circumstances where maybe it's harder to do if you're not able to move for them. And I think because I wasn't like super large and hard to find spots, it would be easier for them to do it. So it may not be an option for everyone, but I was so grateful because I was so scared to get it, that he took that into consideration. It still makes me happy, but I had a nerve block anyways. That was the point of that. And so that helped me. I don't know how long. And then they gave me, I think, oxycodone. And I took it, let's see, I had surgery on Friday. I took it on Saturday, and then I used ibuprofen or Tylenol. I think I could alternate between the two Sunday, and then I stopped taking it because for me, the biggest pain was the air, and it wasn't helping that at all. As much as I probably don't seem like it, I don't love to take things when I don't have to. And the biggest pain for me was air, and I took very little, but yes, Tylenol, I can never remember like which one inflames and which one doesn't. Again, I just follow directions, but I did take over the counter eventually only. And I took that. I was done with medication by Monday, and I had my surgery on Friday. But again, some of that is myself. I'd rather just be like a little more uncomfortable than take something. Because I also like to know how I'm feeling. I don't know if that makes sense. Am I feeling better, or am I medicated and I don't know that I don't feel better? So I feel comfortable. Like I can be slightly uncomfortable and know how I'm feeling. But I think I had oxycodone after my nerve block for 2 days, like Saturday or Friday and Saturday. And I had surgery Friday morning. Gentry! Hi, Gentry. Everyone, if you're not familiar, there's Gentry, my bestie, in Florida. Living the good life. I wish I was with you. What would I want to have with you in Florida? A beignet, obviously. But I hope you're having an amazing time. Text me. Thank you for stopping in. I feel honestly so honored you have made me a part of your Florida vacation. You're in the UK too. I eat an early OMAD as I work the night shift. Have you done early window? Yes, I move my window all the time. That is actually one of my other planned videos. I woke up way too early today. My son slept until 10, which never happens, and I woke up at 7:44 for whatever reason. I'm like, why does that happen? Normally he wakes up and I'm like, no, it's Saturday, let me sleep in. Anyways, I had so many thoughts in my head that I had to get out of my head. That's why I couldn't sleep. And I have like this slight like irritation in my throat that was keeping me up. But I want to make a video where I've done them in the past where I show like my eating windows and move it, but I want to do it again and just really highlight the ability to shift windows. And I also am contemplating, I started doing this a while ago and then I just stopped, and I wish I would have kept doing it, where I weekly check in and share exactly my week of eating, my exact times, and just walk through how I move it. I'll be honest, it might be a members only thing if I do that, simply because it is pretty, I don't want to say vulnerable, but it's very, very detailed. And as far as opening it up to the world, like I have a lot of like things that are out there. But to answer questions and to just give more details, I feel like I don't really want to open it up to every person that hates fasting in their comments, if that makes sense. And so I'm thinking of going back to that to show how to move your eating window. But essentially, I haven't ever done early on a normal basis. But if there's a reason I want to eat early in the day, like October 30th, I had to think of the date. I went to an Aldi grand opening. I was up at 4 a.m. And then I had a trunk or treat and a middle school dance afterwards. It was a crazy, crazy busy day. Well, guess what? I was actually just going to fast the entire day, but then I like Jimmy John's on a down day sounded good. So I ate that before we went to trunk or treat, and it was like 11:30 or noonish that I ate it. And then I had like the busiest day in the afternoon. That was the best time of the day to eat. I could sit down, I could enjoy it. I wasn't trying to shove it in between activities. And when that kind of stuff happens and I have such a busy day, I'll move my eating window to whatever works. I'll do the same thing. Sometimes I'll eat at 9 p.m. at night. Now, that's not my favorite anymore because from not doing that for so long, I see that I feel better when I don't eat super late. So it just naturally makes me not want to do that. But I'll even, like, Gentry, she just said hi. She is like one of my favorite things in life is going to breakfast with her. And if she wants to meet me for breakfast, I will move my eating window to morning time and have breakfast with her. And I love it. Yes, buddy? Not much. Why? Okay. My son wants to invite a friend, so he wonders how much longer. I'd have him come say hi, but he's not dressed for the day yet. He's not naked either, but he's not going to come say hi is the point. So yes, I move my eating window. Early is not my typical because my priority is having dinner with my family. That is the meal that I put most effort into. And I'd love to say we sit down and have it together every day, but I have 2 teens and I'm often running them somewhere. So maybe it's not all 5 of us, but I absolutely move my eating window all over. Excuse me. My coffee is not even that warm. I'm talking too much. I busted out my Aldi Ghost. Isn't that the cutest thing ever? Okay, so Potato is asking early on if in the beginning of fasting, does the seasonal time change throw you off? I feel like it's messing with me. Oh, Calvin just got dressed so he can say hi. I'll answer the question after that. Come here, bud. I can't see you. This is my buddy Calvin. You say hi? It's up here, the camera.
Hi.
Do you want to tell them anything? No. Okay. I can invite your friends here in a minute. He wants neighbor boys to come play. I texted that to Dad last night. There's a picture of him sleeping on the couch. I did not put that on the live. I think he was wondering. But anyways, I feel like time change throws me off as a person. Yes, like, wait, it's suddenly dark or it's early, like that kind of stuff, where you feel like you should be going to bed, but it's not your time. But not really with fasting because I just get my hours in and I change my time every day. So I'm not like trying to wait for 5 p.m. I don't really care what time it is. So because I don't like go by a specific time, I don't think it throws off my fasting. Now if it were like today we're going to my in-laws at 5:30 to have a birthday dinner, if that had fallen on, I mean, we are still within the week. Like it might feel weird, like, oh, it doesn't feel like it's 5:15, but it hasn't really. But I do feel like in general, time change throws me off, but not really with fasting because I'm very like wishy-washy with when I open my eating window. I just try to get my 18 hours, eat 1 meal a day. And after that, I don't really pay attention to this specific time. So since I always get my 18 hours or most days get my 18 hours, it doesn't really play into that, if that makes sense. JCH, I'm going to guess your name is... I see a little girl in the picture. I'm going to say your name is Juliet Childs, and you were born in 1965. Anyways, that was random, I know, but just found you a couple weeks ago. I've been binging your videos and started OMAD this past week. Thanks for all you share. It's encouraging. Yay, congrats. I'm so excited for you because I absolutely, it changed my life, and it makes me excited when I think of the fact that it could do that for other people. So go JCH. Or Julia Child. Oh, wait, is that the name? Juliet Childs? That's the name of a cook, isn't it? Well, never mind. There goes my guess. But thank you for being here. And I am glad you're enjoying the videos. I do plan to continue sharing because I love this lifestyle. Oh, a wave for Cal. Yes, I get that. Jillian. Very close. I mean, kind of, as a J. But Jackie and Jillian, we could be best friends. Yes. I often hear that my kids all look like me. I think he looks a lot like his dad, though, too. But Matt and I, when we were dating early on, people would ask if we were siblings. So we might look alike as well. I think we both have longer faces. Question, I just joined, so I'm not sure if you already answered, but are you still fasting even after your surgery? Okay, so yes, I am still fasting. I am at this point 5 months postpartum. I did OMAD for the most part. There is a lot more discussion on this if you want to go back and watch earlier. But yes, I did continue fasting. I'm going to go very succinct here, but I had a lot of pain in my abdomen from gas, like from the surgery, the laparoscopic, a lot of gas gets in your abdomen. that was so painful to me that eating was very uncomfortable. So eating one meal a day worked really well because it was my normal. It's what I did. I did not feel like I needed to eat more. Had I felt like I needed to, I very much would have honored that. I think that would be important, but I didn't at all. And the fact that I was so uncomfortable, like eating made me more uncomfortable. It was easier to stick with one meal a day because I did not look forward to eating. I did not look forward to sitting up, and I did not look forward to laying down. That gas was not fun. Okay, well, I have to go invite friends over for my son. This was a nice live. I do plan to plan lives more regularly. This is totally random, but I had oh, I'm such an idiot. I I say that playfully. I don't think I'm an idiot, but that's what I call myself when I make mistakes. Last week I scheduled 2 videos to go out on the same time instead of one was supposed to be today and one was last week. So then when I thought of this video, I was like, you know what? I haven't done a live in a while. I'll go live instead of posting a regular video at my normal time. So if you're curious, this is my video for the week. And it was meant to be very targeted. I know we got off a tangent at the end, but I'm totally fine with that. And that's how I think my lives are going to go in the future. I'm going to do more targeted content at the beginning, and then after we talk about that at the end, we can kind of go off on a tangent if we want to keep talking about stuff. Crabby Creature Christina, I had lots of gas from laparoscopy, and it was more painful than I could have imagined. 100%, that is exactly my experience. That shocked me, and it was the worst part. And the pain management does not help with that at all. But thank you so much for joining. I really enjoyed this. And my lives are going to be not the same time every week, but I will give a heads up of when it's going to be, like I did with this one. I enjoy doing lives, but my schedule just is not conducive for being available every week at the same time. And I just have to come to terms with it. So thank you so much for joining, guys. I really enjoyed chatting with you. I appreciate all the comments and encouragement, questions. I love this community, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao, Donna, ciao.